And we came up with an analysis, and it's a very interesting analysis, that whenever you are receiving the ball, that means the opponent has hit the ball to you, to your court, your subconscious mind is always to approach the ball. In competitive tennis, you will never say, I will not run towards it. Even it might be a slow run, but there will be an attempt to reach the ball, right? So that was the thing that struck us, that there will be always a subconscious approach by the player to reach the ball. But apart from that, when he's hit the ball, then he will strategize as to where his position in the court would be to receive the ball next one, right? So he can be at the volley and he might decide to run at the baseline in tennis, right? And or it could be vice versa, or it could be any corners. So that thing struck us, and we thought that, you know, let's keep the auto movement, the automatic movement of the player when he's receiving the ball. So whenever the player is receiving the ball, then you don't have to do anything. The player will run automatically towards the ball, right? Depending on the player's speed and all those parameters. But when after he hits the ball, then you can tap anywhere in the screen and make the player move, right? So it was a flick and tap, simple sort of a approach that we had. So you, with that sort of tap in the court, you could strategize where exactly you wanted to be to beat the opponent. So again, like I said, that this was one of the things that was we put in the game after talking to a lot of tennis players. So, but the fights continued. We play tested it again. Somehow we couldn't crack the code. You know, is it the perfect thing? And I was advocating, let's put both the options. Let's put a D-pad and give the user the option to choose flick controls and this. But in the end, we came to a conclusion. You know, if you are not utilizing the power of the device that you are developing on, you are doing injustice to the gamers who are playing, right? So if you give a D-pad or a virtual joysticks, that is just, I would say, a console hangover, like I said again. It's a console hangover. I don't know, they can be great games which are made on virtual D-pad and joysticks. It might suit their purpose, but that was not us. We also, again now, when we wanted to bring realism in the tennis, we wanted to study what basically tennis players behave like, right? So we had a few examples out there, and when we watched YouTube matches, and we studied a lot of, you know, tennis forums. We categorize all these players generally into 4 categories and designed AIs accordingly, right? So we are a defensive baseliner. That's Andy Murray right now. So what he plays is he plays on the baseline, and he forces the opponent to make a mistake. He returns every shot, right? And he forces the opponent to make a mistake. So that is the characteristic of that player. Then you have the serve and volley. That is, Pete Sampras was very famous for using that technique. He used to serve and run up to the volley and kill the shot. Then you have the aggressive baseliner. That's a powerful guy like Nadal, who hits cross courts and straight through down the line. It's very powerful arm, so he can hit with force. And then you have Roger Federer, which is a kind of a mix of all of them and uses them, you know, where he pleases. He's an all-good player. So the AIs were designed based on these 4 categories that we selected to bring sort of those tennis sort of enthusiasts, that realism that we wanted to provide, right? And we also had standard 3 difficulty levels: professional, amateur, and beginner. So there were totally 12 different playing options that we presented to the user with different star ratings, and that's in the game where you can decide, you know, how the difficulty balancing is happening. And with every progression in the game, the difficulty was balanced such that the opponent was, there was even a certain kind of opponent where it would be easy for him to play the game, but to beat him, he would have to strategize. So there was a level of progression that was happening across the games. So after designing the entire gameplay and AI, then we thought that, you know, how are we going to do the feature set of the game? because it's very important if you, and we were going to charge people to play it, that it should be, not feel like a rip-off. So we thought that, like I said, if we have to tell a story to the user has to believe that there is a story element involved in the game to make him feel connected to this, to the play that we're trying to portray. So we had a single player mode, which was along a story, which was interestingly told by a comic. Again, I would say it is not a very used feature in games. It is used, but it's not very common. That usually you have 3D cutscenes and 2D cutscenes that are used to show the story or the progression. First of all, we are a startup. We didn't have money to create 3D cutscenes. We didn't have the time. So we thought the most effective way of communicating would be through something which we all love, is reading comics, right? So comic would be a good way to tell the story of our tennis prodigy, Kevin Andrews. And one of the problems that I have personally, and most of us in the team had with the game, was that the line drawing of the comics was not really great. I mean, when we strive to create a world-class product, you need to have everything which should be fantastic. And anything less than that is not worth your time. So when you wanted to do this, we were struggling to find any comic book artists in India. Which, and if we found some, they were exorbitantly priced, or they wanted more something like Narayan Murthy would draw in a month. So whatever, guys, just leave it. So we had a local artist. We actually contacted a few people in Brazil and wanted to work there with. They were brilliant. They were brilliant, by the way. The samples that they sent us was totally kick-ass. But again, there was a lot of communication problem within our team and their team. Portuguese and English really are not the same language. So we were talking X, they were making Y. And if that happens, then the story is not communicated properly, then the comic purpose is lost. Anyway, so we luckily got a local talent, and we got the comic done somehow. I would say we just crossed the line. It was okay. And what we did was that we divided the comic. It was 35 pages of comics that we made, and we divided that into episodes. So the comic had sort of, as we read a book, there are chapters. So we divided it into episodes. So there were chapters to the story. So and one interesting thing that why we divided into episodes is always to keep the player interested in the game. Right, and that's very important for a level progression to keep happening. Right? In the first episode, it's the basic story. You're introducing the character. And after every comic pane or every episode, there used to be a match of tennis with a new environment, with new settings, which you have to win to unlock the next episode. So you feel compelled to win that game to progress. Right? So that's how you connect to the character. And all this while in the story mode, you are this player, Kevin Andrews. Right? So that's how we tried to keep the player involved in the game. And we had 11 episodes in total. So we had 11 different environments, 11 different stadiums. They were all the stadiums were matched to the theme of the comic that we were, the story that we were telling. Like if they are playing in the college, if they're playing in the high school, then it has to be a high school sort of an environment. If they're playing in the university, then it has to be a university sort of an environment. If there was even a grudge match, which when Kevin and his friend fight with college rivals, so they are in a prom and they fight, and they say, let's have a tennis match to settle this. And when they have a tennis match, they're wearing their prom dresses and playing the match. So that is the kind of sort of finer things we took care of by creating the environments and the experience of the story. Whatever we could do in the 3D cutscenes, 2D cutscenes, we took care in the actual gameplay of it. So, and you have the standard exhibition mode, where whatever your progress is happening, it keeps getting unlocked in the exhibition, and you can play it at your will wherever you want to. That is up to you. one more thing which I forgot was after every episode we'll also make sure that there were unlocks. Like if every episode had a new character introduced or a new game type introduced. Like double sword was unlocked after episode 4, after that double smash, and different words like difficulty levels. Professional was unlocked after episode 7. So we had to keep in mind the graph at which the user might be learning. We also had this silly, I would not say silly, it's actually a pretty decent attempt at multiplayer that we're trying to do on the same machine. It's actually a fun game if you get the hang of it. It's not very accurate to get the hang of it, but we took the game as a top view and we divided the device in two and had a turn-based sort of a tennis game on the same iPad if you want to play. So we tried this, we were just fooling around with ideas, how do we do this? And it just came and stuck and they said, we are supposed to give the user the option. Sort of a mini game within a game. So, but actually it turns out from our reviewers, the office, they keep, one of our reviewers, they were saying in the office they started having fights about it. So it turned out to be a good feature. So now where are featured for you? So our help to a page is not enough. And even today it's not helpful. So don't read the help page. Because it was the last minute, we were running out of the production delays that happened so much. We just put text, like if I want to write an email to someone and tell him how to play the game, I just copy pasted that and put it in the Photoshop, created a file with this brand. So that's not the right approach. I think giving the user inform is the most important thing. It can be, a 2-minute thing if the user doesn't like the game. People have very short attention spans while playing games for mobiles. If they don't like your game, for 10-20 seconds, they will throw off the game. That's the lifespan of it. That's the harsh reality of developing game for mobiles. So our tutorials were very well planned out. We had the basic tutorial, the intermediate, the advanced. Step by step, we were making the user learn the swipe controls, the different type of shots, the movement strategy, so that he could strategize. So they're really good, but they were a little text heavy. That's what we felt, and we corrected it later. I think it's still a little text heavy for some people's liking, but that's the feedback. So we tried to correct that mistake. And the biggest fail in a sports game is you don't have multiplayer. That's the biggest fail. I mean, shut the company down, do whatever, but ship your sports game with a multiplayer. That's the biggest fail for a sports game. The competitiveness that you feel when someone is playing with you online or through the net in a sports game, that's the most, it's one of the unique selling points of a good sports game. We didn't have time, there were a lot of production delays, we didn't have time, we shipped it without multiplayer. 6 months down the line, we still don't have multiplayer, but yeah, we survived. But so this is something, one of our to-do lists that has been, we need to take it off the list. So multiplayer, immensely important. So it was actually the development cycle, if you see, of our sports game or flick tennis was actually 4 months, and we shipped it in 8 months. 4 months were wasted, absolute wastage, no work done, nothing done. So, why did this happen? First of all, as I said, we are a bootstrap company, and both me and Rohit we had 3 full-time employees with very less motivating salaries for work. I am so thankful to them, they have stuck around with us. And we had 2 interns and they were students out of Serious Education Academy. So all our employees, since they are our knowledge partners and Rohit teaches in game programming and game design there as a course,